Hey YouTube, how's it going? Butler TCG here. Just wanted to show you the Naturia Runick deck I finished 2022 playing. I feel like this deck has a lot of potential and is pretty solid. There's definitely some issues with it, which is why it's not more successful, but I felt like this deck was really solid overall, and I've had a good time playing it, so I wanted to show you the build I've been using lately. If I was to play in a regional or anything like this, I'd probably use this build. I think it's pretty solid. It's a good way to play the format if you don't want to play Tearlament or Sprite. So I'll just kind of go over each of the engines and what they bring to the deck. So first we have the Naturia engine, which is 3 Camilla. Camilla is a very strong normal summon. For those of you who don't know what these cards do, this is an Armageddonite on summon, so it can send any Naturia card from your deck to the graveyard. And then it can replace a Naturia tribute effect by letting you mill 2 once per turn. And then if your opponent summons a monster, you can special summon back a Naturia monster, which is very powerful. Then you've got the best normal summon, which is Naturia Mole Cricket. This card is a quick effect, tribute itself to special summon a Naturia monster, or if your opponent controls the monster with the highest attack, you get to summon 2 Naturias. So one of the really cool things is you can tribute this if you go second, summon Camilla, summon Sunflower, and then you have a negate and a Foolish Burial as well. If your opponent summons a monster from the extra deck, or you special summon a Naturia monster from your extra deck, you can actually summon this guy back, which is really good. And I'll go over some of the combos or explain some of the synergies that these cards have in a moment. Sunflower is a monster negation effect, tribute itself and another Naturia monster to negate any monster's effect or activation and destroy it. And then there's 2 Naturia Blessing. This card is very powerful. It's got 3 effects, and that's just absurd right there because it is a searchable, very flexible card. You can special summon a Naturia monster from your graveyard or hand. You can synchro summon any monster using a Naturia monster you control as material, or you can fusion summon using the Naturia monsters you control as material, which is really just ridiculously good. And then 3 Naturia Sacred Tree. This card is basically only here to be milled or discarded by your Runick card or your Hugin, things like that. When it's sent to the graveyard from your, or just when it's sent to the graveyard, you get to add a Naturia card from your deck to your hand. So you can add the Blessing, you can add any of your 3 monsters. So you have a lot of consistency there, because if you can draw one of these and you draw a Runick card, you can just summon Hugin, discard this, add the Fountain. This will trigger. You can then add Mole Cricket. You could summon Mole Cricket and just go from there. So why the Naturia engine in general? These cards are very solid. It's a very compact engine, you'll notice too. It's very small, which is very good. I enjoyed that a lot. I wanted a nice compact engine. You'll also notice too that by being Earth, they aren't affected by the bestials, which is one of the things that I was really looking for in any deck I played. Was I didn't want it to lose to the bestials, so that was really good. One of the cool things here is that these 2 Naturia monsters, actually all 3 really, offer you utility on the opponent's turn, because if your opponent summons a monster, Camilla can bring back Mole Cricket, for example. Then Mole Cricket could mill 2 and special summon out Sunflower if you had Sunflower still in deck. And then off of just Camilla, if your opponent summoned, you can have 3 monsters, and then that gives you at least 1 negation, which is really good. And then Blessing not being a once per turn is very powerful as well, because it just means you get to recycle your resources a lot more than other decks might. Next up we have the Runick engine, which is 2 copies of Fountain. I don't think I need to explain Fountain. It's a plus 1,000,000. 3 copies of Runick Tip, which is every copy of the Runick cards in the deck. 3 Destruction, which is 3 Mystical Space Typhoons, and it also makes them banish 4. Or you can special summon a Runick monster from your extra deck. 3 Flashing Fire, destroy special summon monster. 3 Freezing Curses to negate monsters' effects. And then 3 Slumbers, which is kind of your throwaway one, but it's also just a good protection spell. There's a lot of times where you might just need to, like, your opponent might need to run over your monster, and that's the only way they can clear it, and you could just Slumber, protect your monster, and then they're having a bad time. Then for the Ishizu cards, because I do play them, I don't play any of the Millers, actually. So it's just 3 Keldo and 3 Mudora. So this is something that I think a lot more players should be testing in general, even in the tier limit deck, is if you're expecting a lot of tier limit matchups, for example, you could start to cut out some of the Millers because you know your opponents will be playing them, and you get the benefit of them playing the Millers and forcing both players to mill without actually having to play them yourself. It's one of the theories that I really like behind this deck, is that if you just play the shufflers, if you're playing against the tier limit strategy and they make you mill, you still have your 6 shufflers as well as your trees and everything else that you want to mill, but you don't have to play any of them yourself. And these cards are just good defensive extenders as well. So you get all the benefits of the millers from your opponent, but you also get the benefit and the defense of the shufflers by only playing them. There's also the fact that these cards help extend your grind game by putting back your trees and your blessings to allow you to continue to draw more cards, allow you to continue grinding out more games, and eventually outweigh the options your opponent had and, you know, get a battle phase because you're going to be using Runick cards, and then eventually you'll just kind of kill them from there. I do play the Bestials. I play 3 Magnamut, which is all of them, 3 Druisworm, and 1 Saronir. I just wanted the Saronir to have a 7th in general, although this was originally going to be a Smiting Storm. It could have also been just like a random triple tactics talent called by the grave. This is the 42nd card in the deck. Then we have the extra deck, where I played 2 Hugin and 1 Jerry. Didn't feel the need for more because, again, you have the shufflers, so these are basically infinite copies because you can get to the shufflers. Also, these tend to be weaker to the Bestials because of their attributes, so I try to cut back on those because I don't want to make my opponent's Bestials better. For your boss monsters, you're going to have Baron, Defleur, and Changing. These are actually what you're trying to end on. Your end field, ideally, in like a perfect world, is just Changing, Baron, Fountain, and a bunch of cards in hand. And like that doesn't seem very imposing, but those Runick cards being interrupts, as well as the shufflers and things like that, actually can really start to be oppressive. So these are level 10s you play. Then there's the level 6s, which is Coral Dragon and Star's Charge Warrior. You'll go through both of these often in one turn. Then the 1 Naturia Beast. So this is more of just like a requirement than anything. It doesn't really get summoned all that often, but it does sometimes come up where you could make this with Camilla and the what's it called? The Mole Cricket, and then the Mole Cricket will come back, and you could even Blessing back the Camilla, and then you can make all 3 of those into a Changing or something if your hand is just really weird. It does happen once in a while. Then for the Xyz, you play Abyss Dweller because it's just insane. Baguska for the Fluandries matchup primarily. Dagaris, this is a card I was really unsure about. Originally this was going to be Cowboy for time, but I found that every once in a while you'd get hands where you just need to draw 2, discard 1. That draw 2, discard 1 actually really comes up a lot, where it just kind of like propels you further and lets you actually make game pushes. And then Beatrice, so that way if your hand is just like all Bestials or something and you go second, for example, you could Bestial, and then summon this, Sentry, and then you're actually able to play. And then for links, 1 Asa, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, and an Axis Kotaker. All of these come up. Asa is really good at just forcing the shufflers out, which is what I really like a lot. And then for the side deck, I cited 3 Kashtira Fenrir. This is my out to Anti-Spell. It's an out to Necro Valley, kind of just everything. This is a big card too. 3 Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood. Now, I know most people cite this for time. I actually decide this in going second almost always. It's just a really good card. One of the problems with this deck is that you don't have battle phases. So you need a way to differentiate your life points, and this lets you do that. And it also is a pseudo max C in that if they go off and you activate this and they just continue to go off, you sometimes can just pass and they can't kill you. And also your deck is able to break boards fairly decently going second, so those extra life points will matter. 3 Twin Twisters. This is mostly for my local meta because a lot of people are playing back row heavy strategies lately to try to counter decks. These could be anything. These were originally Dark Ruler No Mores, and they were Raigekis, they were Swords of Concealing Light even. They've been kind of a lot of things. 3 Triple Tactics Talent. This card is absurd. It's 3 forbidden cards in 1. So, I mean, when you describe it that way, it just seems kind of silly not to play it. And then 3 Infinite Impermanents. These go in against primarily Fluandries, but also against the Trilament deck as well. Sometimes being able to just shut off a Kit Kalos is all you need to do to win the game. But yeah, like I said, this is the deck that I played. It went undefeated when I played New Year's Eve or whatever. It was very solid. I liked it a lot. Let me know what you guys think down below. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, I'd love to hear them. Maybe I'll do a combo video or something soon too. And yeah, I look forward to bringing you guys more content. Thank you.